Happy New Year! I hope everybody's having a good 2018 so far. I'm kicking it off with a cold, so please ignore my sniffly voice. But other than that, everything's going pretty well in 2018, and I've got so many books from December to show you guys, so I'm going to jump straight into it. The first three I'm going to show you are actually from my book club Christmas party that we had in December, which was absolutely amazing. I'm going to put a couple of pictures up here and maybe up here, just to show you that it was awesome table decorations. We had a lot of fun. There was a lot of Harry Potter theme and dragons and myth and mythology sort of things. It was great, a really great night. But we did a white elephant book swap where the month before we all took a genre out of a hat and then bought a book that we thought would be the best representation of that genre to swap at the party and wrapped it up, and so everybody picked one at random and you could steal other people's, and it was a lot of fun. The one I chose first actually got stolen, so I ended up with another book that I'm actually really happy about, which was from the zombie theme, and it is World War Z by Max Brooks. And yes, I'm saying Z, even though I'm English. In England this would be World War Z, but I know that it's always pronounced World War Z in America. So if you don't know about it, this is a book about the end of the world. It's a zombie, post-apocalyptic kind of a book. The movie that came out I saw and it was okay. Zombies are a weird genre for me. I don't really read them very much and I don't play a lot of zombie games. But movies sometimes I can get into, and the zombie books I enjoy if it's more focused on the people surviving rather than on the actual zombies themselves. And this seems to have that kind of a feel to it. People have told me that there's things in this book, I believe, that are sort of letters from different characters to lost people, and that sounded an interesting concept to me, to see the sort of destruction of people's lives really, rather than just focusing on, oh no, zombies. So I'm actually really excited to read this book. If you've read it, let me know, is it better than the movie? So with our book club, the organiser of the book club had a Harry Potter theme going with decorations on the table, and she'd left everybody one of these little cute mail boxes, well, parcels, and inside is a book. But it's very special because the books that she put in there were ones that she read that got her into reading originally, so it was a very nice personal touch. And I'll just show you inside the box. She got like a little scroll and everything in there. The scroll is saying that I don't get into Hogwarts because I'm too much of a muggle. But the book was in mine. Oh, it was Mustapha and His Wise Dog by Esther M. Friesner. I had never heard of this book before. It's quite an old book, I think from the 80s or maybe 70s. 85 was when it was published, and this is about a boy named Mustapha and his magical dog who goes on adventures with him through dangerous lands, and I think it's up to them to kind of save the world. So it's a very exciting adventure, magic-y, mystical story, and I'm going to really have fun reading this. There were a couple of no-shows at the party, so there were a few extra books left over at the end, and I actually got a second book, which is The Book Dragon by Don Kushner. And again, this looks like an older book, probably around 80s, and this is about a dragon who, all dragons are supposed to hoard and protect something, and that's his lifelong dream to do that. And so he ends up protecting a book, but somehow gets trapped into it for 600 years, and then gets released into modern day society later on, and I guess fun ensues from there. So again, another read that I'm really looking forward to. I did a couple of book swaps in December, and one of the books that I received was this, which is Wild Women by Moira Hodgkinson. I hadn't heard of this before. The author is an eclectic witch, and this is a fictional story that she's written about a family, I believe, that are different generations of witches who all together end up back under the same roof, which may or may not be a good fit. And the blurb on the back actually says that because this is real magic, it doesn't always turn out the way you expect it to. So I think there's probably going to be a bit of hijinks ensuing. And I haven't read a book that's fictional by a real life witch before, so it'd be interesting to see how she incorporates real life magic instead of purely fantasy world magic into a story. And yeah, sounds an interesting read. The other book swap I did gave me 3 books, and the first of which is Introductions by C.L. Stone. I think that says Stone. It's a signature rather than a written out name, but I think it says Stone. But this seems to be about a girl who moved to a new area. She makes friends with some kids at the new school that she's at. She's trying to get away from the house of secrets that she has at home, but then finds out that this group of boys actually has a lot of secrets of their own, and maybe a sort of mystery around the school that they're at. So I think it's a thriller, maybe a mystery, maybe paranormal, I'm not entirely sure, but intriguing. And next from that swap is Dangerous Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. Now I believe this is from the Beautiful Creatures series, and I don't know if this is a standalone novel or the next in the series, and I haven't read any of them, so I'm going to try and start from the beginning, unless this is standalone, and then I'll read from this one and jump back to the beginning. Let me know in the comments below if you know if this is standalone or if it's a continuation of the series. But from reading the back, it's about someone who is a siren or a dark caster who moves to New York with their boyfriend, who is also a dark caster, and then there seems to be a price on his head, and so I guess they've got to try and figure out how to get out of that situation, because it's kind of a life or death thing. Definitely magic, and I think urban fantasy, and I think YA. It's a series that I actually wanted to start before and just never got around to it, so this is going to give me a kick to actually get into that one. And the third book from that swap was Succubus Blues by Rochelle Mead. This is a series, again, that I haven't read, but I have seen on shelves before. It's definitely an adult urban fantasy and is about a succubus named Georgina who lives somewhere that I'm forgetting at the moment, but she works in a bookstore, so she gets free books and white chocolate mochas, and that's my kind of girl already. And she, I believe, finds out about a dangerous creature that is threatening the demon underground, and then has to go and stop it. Urban fantasies are definitely things that I love reading, so I am really excited for this new series. Next up is The Watchmaker's Daughter by CJ Archer. This was a book club choice that I haven't got around to reading yet. But this is about a girl called India Steele, which is a great name and a great cover as well. Look how gorgeous that is. But she is a watchmaker. Her father passes away, and then suddenly none of the other watchmakers want to hire her. She doesn't have anywhere to live. She's kind of persona non grata for some reason, until somebody agrees to take her in, and this mysterious person she finds out actually has a watch which imbues him with life, I guess, when he's ill, which is a bit strange. And then a bounty hunter turns up, and she believes that the bounty hunter is coming after this man, but if she turns him in, then she'll obviously lose the only home that she's got access to. That's all in the back of the book, so I haven't even started reading it yet, and that's just the blurb. There's obviously a lot more to find out, I hope so, because otherwise that's the whole story on the back of the book. But it sounds interesting, and possibly steampunk kind of a theme to it as well. Next is Do Not Disturb by A.R. Tor. This is book 2 in the Deanna Madden series, and I highly recommend it if you haven't started it yet. It's what I class as an erotic thriller. I know that's not really a genre, but it's definitely a cross between erotic novel and a thriller, mystery, murder, crime kind of a book. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I really, really recommend it. I love her writing. But this is book 2, and it follows Deanna after she has broken all of the rules that she had in book 1. I kind of don't want to spoil it from book 1 for people who haven't read it, but without saying too much, it's about a girl who has locked herself away because she fears what she will do to people if she's actually out in the world. And in book 1, she ends up being out in the world, and there are consequences after that, and this book is the consequences that she has to deal with. The next 4 books are actually from a bit of a discovery I made in December. In the brick and mortar Barnes and Noble stores, I didn't realise that they have a section called bargain priced books, and it is all of the hardbacks that are a year or more older that they've just got random copies left of that they put out for sale, and the prices range between about $3.99 and $5.99 a book, which is music to my ears for a hardback. And there was loads of different ones to choose from. I limited myself to 4, but I could have gone kind of crazy, and the stock changes constantly because it's as new books come up to that deadline, then they put them in that they just need to clear out. There are other tables around the store as well that they do it with the paperbacks of the same kind of thing, that they just need to get rid of those copies. I can see a lot of book buying happening in that store now. I know that that's there. I've really got to drive past with blinkers on sometimes just to keep in budget. But yeah, rambling enough. These are the 4 that I got from that table. First is Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll, and this is about Annie Finelli, who when she was at a private prestigious school was embarrassed beyond belief over a situation, and she, when she's older, reinvents herself. She has a high-paying job, the great house, car, life, but there's another dark secret that she has in her past that she's trying desperately to keep from people. What that is, I don't know. So this is some kind of a thriller mystery, maybe a murder mystery, I'm not sure, but it's sounding very intriguing and you can't really beat the price. I think this was like $4.99. Next is The Dark Side by Anthony O'Neill, and I'd never heard of this before, but I'm starting to get into a few different sci-fi books, as you've probably seen from my last video, and I'm going to read the little bit of blurb from the back of this because it sums it up much better than I would. It says, in this dark and gripping sci-fi noir, an exiled police detective arrives at a lunar penal colony just as a psychotic android begins a murderous odyssey across the far side of the moon. Intriguing. All the boxes are ticked for me to want to read this book, and as it's an author I've never heard of before, I'm excited to get into a new author as well. Next is Fellside by M.R. Carey. Now this is the same author who did The Girl with All the Gifts, which I loved. Great book if you haven't read it. It's kind of zombie-ish, but it's not about the zombies, if that makes sense. It's kind of about humanity as a whole. Read it, it's really good. And this is not a sequel, they're all standalone books. Fellside is a mystery thriller, I believe, and it's about a maximum security prison called Fellside, where the main character, Jess, may end up spending the rest of their life. And while they're there, the walls start whispering to them. One voice in particular sounds like a little boy, and they have a message for Jess. Will they listen? I don't know. I know I've said intriguing for a lot of the books in my list this time, but I really enjoyed the writing style of M.R. Carey from when I read The Girl with All the Gifts, so I am actually really excited to get into another of his books. And last but by no means least is Feverborn by Karen Marie Moning. Now this is the next book in the Fever series, book 6 or 7, maybe book 8, I can't remember off the top of my head which number it is. But if you haven't started the series, it is an urban fantasy adult series, and it's about a character named Mac who travels from America to Ireland to find out where her sister is and what's happened to her. But while she's in Ireland, she inadvertently stumbles across fairies that are kind of taking over, and it's everything that ensues around this kind of battle between humans and fae, good and evil, dark and light, that kind of a situation. It is a very gritty series at times and a bit dark at times, and I actually like that it doesn't just make things as light-hearted fairies. These are not light-hearted fairies. These are the ones that you would not ever want to be around. It's a very deep series, and yeah, this is the next one in it. In this one, it says that it is Mac, Barons, and some other characters who are trying to find the Song of Making to save the planet. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give any spoilers to anybody, and that really isn't giving any spoilers to anyone. And I haven't read the book before this, so I don't want any spoilers either, because I need to read that other one first. But yeah, this is a great series. So that was it for my December book haul. That was a lot of books. I've got to do a lot of reading this year to catch up. These shelves back here behind me, this is TBR as well. So yeah, I've got to do a lot of sitting and reading and hot chocolate times. But this is the perfect time of year for that. I hope 2018 is treating you well so far. I'm actually going to go and sign up for the Goodreads 2018 Reading Challenge. I'll put a link down below. Let me know if you've got any book goals of your own or any other challenges that you recommend for doing through the year. But for now, that's it for me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.